Like, one is this phrase I always say, that sometimes you sing because you believe it, and sometimes you sing until you believe it. And I think there's something really important about the declarative, like, realignment of worship. So we're singing these things, especially when we're singing scripture. We're singing these things, and it's this prophetic imagination idea, this Brueggemann idea, that we're telling the story that is more true than the story we're actually living. And there's something important about that. So it can feel like a dissonance, because you can feel like this isn't true, but actually you're telling the story that should be true. You're telling the story that will be true. So you're actually, sometimes you're singing it because you believe it, and then some days you're singing it until you believe it. And I think both are okay, and both are necessary. So, and that's important to remember as a worship leader, is to say, this might feel like there's dissonance here because this is not how we're living, but this is how we're going to be living. This is what God says about the world, and it's true. So I think there's some of that. And the other thing is, there's a brilliant little video with Bono and Eugene Peterson, if you haven't seen it, and they talk about the Psalms. And Bono basically just says, he just sort of says, when are the Christian worship leaders going to start singing the truth? And I thought that was a really powerful, to actually start telling the truth in our songs. I think the Vineyard's done a fantastic job at this, actually. And I think one of the great strengths of your denomination is you've brought language and music and worship to like real life, and I think it's been a beautiful gift to the church. So I'm super honored for that reason about the Vineyard. But I thought it really resonated with me, because we actually do have to put into language the cry of the oppressed, not just the sort of Brueggemann picture of the answer. That some of the richness of those Psalms to say, life is, where are you, God? And just to hang out there for a while. And I think that's important too, because we need language and songs of lament, but like real life stuff, like where we're telling the truth and we're saying, and we're safe in that thing to cry out to God. And that's part of justice. And I've found that when I'm serving with the poor, when we're having prayer meetings with the poor, and we're like, that's coming out naturally. And that's one of the great, if you're having worship that's totally removed from any like angst, it means you're probably not doing justice. It means you probably don't know anyone oppressed. Because when you know people are oppressed, that naturally comes in your worship, because you're expressing your heart to God, and your heart's broken. So I think both of those things are true at the same time.